There's a gleam, man. There's a gleam. It's on that banner, that ESPN Radio 94.1 banner. You can hear yours truly, Matt Hatfield, with the coach Ed Young every Saturday during High School Sports Talk presented by VirginiaPreps.com. Every Saturday, 10 a.m. to noon on ESPN Radio 94.1. We talk more in high school sports, though. During the offseason, a lot of times when football and basketball is not center stage, we'll open up to some pro and college sports. We've always got some thoughts on it. So this is another Sports Talk Plus edition. We've concentrated mostly on the high school, plus. It's better than minuses, I was told.
No question.
So we'll touch on a few topics today. College football, NFL, Major League Baseball, which just finished up with the Cubs winning the World Series for the first time since 1908, ending that drought and curse.
You should get Dino to sing Go Cubbies Go.
He did do that. You can hear it later on the replay on VirginiaPreps.com. But anyhow, also some NBA just starting up, which is your sport, the round ball, basketball, even though I know you also love the March Madness.
That's ball that bounces.
College hoops getting ready to start too, as well as high school hoops. But Ed, we'll begin with college football. It's a college football Saturday, and we did our Final Four about a month ago with our teams, and I think they've changed a bit. We certainly still like Alabama and Clemson, who won that thriller against Louisville with Lamar Jackson. What a game that was, college football, which I'll get to my thought in a minute on college football in comparisons to the NFL. But I like Michigan now. I think they're solidly in, win or lose against Ohio State. No, they get beat down by Ohio State. I don't think they get in, but I like Michigan in, and I like Washington. That fourth spot, I'm so conflicted because while I'm really a fan of what Chris Peterson's done at Washington, coming over from Boise, Jake Browning, the quarterback, very good, and you heard all offseason how Washington would be a team on the rise in the Pac-12. I look at the contenders with Texas A&M and Auburn, a two-loss team, Penn State, Wisconsin, Florida's a one-loss team, but they still have to go to LSU, Florida State, Arkansas. Washington, to me, has the most the easiest schedule to navigate with the likes of Cal, Southern Cal, Arizona State, and at Washington State, who's been on the rise since that 0-2 start under Mike Leach. But I'm not crazy about that fourth spot. So I think Alabama, assuming they hold on to the one seed, they've got pretty much a bye to the championship game. That semifinal game, I don't see them getting tested.
Yeah, right. It changes almost daily on that fourth. You know, people talking about Washington and Texas A&M. I still like Ohio State.
Really?
I got Bama. I think Bama, Michigan, Clemson, and I'm putting Ohio State as 4. Even if they lose
to
Michigan.
Wow.
But they got to win the other games. You can't put a 3-4 loss team.
Yeah, they can't lose to Nebraska. But see, the thing is, they're not going to get helped, I don't think, by being in the Big Ten championship game with the loss to Michigan. See, that's the bonus Washington gets. Is as long as they don't trip up against Washington State, they get in that conference championship game. And I think that hurts the second SEC team, assuming it's a West team like an A&M or an Auburn.
Right.
And of course, LSU's still in the mix with Leonard Fournette, the running back. They play Alabama later today. I don't see Florida getting thrown out of the SEC East. It's tough to find that number 4 team right now, and I feel like Michigan and Clemson are good. That's a great game if we get Michigan and Clemson in the 2-3. I like that game. Louisville could sneak in. The problem with Louisville is they don't get to the ACC championship game because of Clemson beating them, and Houston losing those games earlier to Navy, it hurt the credibility of that Houston game if they were to beat Houston later in the year, where they got a lot of people's attention, and I think giving Louisville a better rep going into it. So also Louisville surviving a scare from UVA under Bronco Mendenhall year 1, almost pulling the upset. So I think Washington gets the 4. You like Ohio State, though? I
got Ohio State. You know, it's funny. Western Michigan, not Michigan State, not Michigan. Western Michigan's undefeated. Your San Diego State Aztecs, 1 loss.
Which you jinxed thanks a lot with South Alabama.
Well, I just told you that was going to happen. And then in the past years, you had your Boise State coming in with undefeated 1 loss. And nobody wanted to give those teams credit because they say, well, they don't play the tough. They play who's presented to them. I mean, that's just what it is. The big boys, so to speak, won't want to play them. So why don't we talk Western Michigan? You're undefeated. They should be in the wording here, but it's not. They're just not.
Listen, P.J. Fleck, the coach there, used to play at Northern Illinois, done a great job. Their quarterback, Zach Terrell, the senior, he won't get a Heisman vote or a Heisman consideration. We'll get to the Heisman thought in a minute. But they deserve some love. And you remember that year Hawaii was undefeated, and I told you all year long they go undefeated, and they went to the Sugar Bowl, lost to Georgia, got waxed. But this new playoff, I don't mind the 4th team being that wild card team. If you have 3 big blue bloods like a Michigan, a Bama, a Clemson, or a Ohio State, a Clemson, you have the 3 big teams. I don't mind rewarding an undefeated team. And also, here's the caveat. Western Michigan gets a conference championship game that they can win if they go undefeated. So if all these teams fall and you have 2 lost teams, I don't have a problem taking a mid-major undefeated over a 2-loss power team. 1 loss I have a problem with, but 2-loss power team I have a problem
I agree 100% with it. It just gets me that these mid-level Division I's have no chance because people say, well, they don't play anybody. Well, are you supposed to schedule the top 10 teams in the country and play them every year? Nobody does that. It's not going to happen. Well, everybody says the SEC is the best. Well, it's because of who's in the conference. So I just wish they would give these other teams. I like the football playoffs, but, we talk about expanding them only if you can include those kind of teams. Because they just right now, the system's not set up to help a Western Michigan team actually win a national championship.
Mm-hmm. And Florida State losing that close game to Clemson. And a lot of local flavor from our Hampton Roads area with Derek Noddy out of Ocean Lakes, Josh Sweat out of Oscar Smith, also Levante Hiller at Ocean Lakes for Florida State in that game that Jimbo Fisher went bananas at the end when they lost close. Boy. And then also from the area, Ohio State with Wayne Davis, who's redshirting this year, but Jalen Holmes having a big impact for him on the radio show from Lake Taylor High School, trying to help the Buckeyes get back in the Final Four. Now, Heisman, what's interesting to me is, Ed, if you look at the Heisman candidates, none of them that really stand out as a senior. You got the sophomores with the quarterbacks in Lamar Jackson of Louisville and Jake Browning from Washington. You got Deshaun Watson, who's a junior from Clemson. Jabril Peppers, those defensive guys, much like these mid-major teams for the playoff, they don't get much love. But Jonathan Allen at Alabama is a senior. I don't think he'll get any consideration, really. It'd be hard. But Jabril Peppers from Michigan, the linebacker, there's not really a senior in the bunch. You like Jackson as the Heisman?
Right now, based on numbers, Jackson, his team's only lost once. But again, not quite the flavor that a Clemson is getting. I don't know why. Both in the ACCC, so therefore Watson would probably be your odds-on favorite, especially if Clemson keeps winning. But I think Jackson, based on numbers.
Did you just say ACCC?
ACC.
Oh, okay.
I might have said ACC.
Oh, I see.
That's Mexican for yes.
Okay.
I know these things you don't.
Well, I think Jackson's going to get it. What I want to see, though, and I've been campaigning all year long. Scott Van Pelt even stole this on SportsCenter. I want Donnell Pumphrey invited to the ceremony. He should be in the top 4. I'm not saying he should win it. He's a senior who can break the NCAA rushing record. He deserves an invite. The team will probably have just 1 loss, and he's been incredible. He's carried this team. Little guy, he's going to break Marshall Faulk's all his school records. He deserves an invite. Not the award, an invite.
I don't disagree with you, but it's not going to happen. It's a situation for an individual like we talked about the other teams. San Diego State, they say, well, they just don't quite play that type of a schedule that, he's done it against the big boys. But he's done it, period, at the Division I level. That's how I look at it.
I'm passionate about my man Pumphrey. I want you at the ceremony, Donnell. I'm rooting for you. Now, NFL...
You don't have to buy a ticket, but he can be there.
NFL, Ed, and here's another thought, and we go to the NFL games. The NFL season to me has just not had a ton of juice to it.
I think a lot of your highlight games, Thursday night, Monday night games, which kind of everybody looks at that as what happened during the week. They haven't been very good.
Well, people have been beating up the league because you have Romo hurt, you have Brady out the first 4 games. You have the 2 ties with the Seahawks and my Cardinals, the Redskins and the Bengals.
That might have been the worst NFL game I've ever seen.
Which one, Seahawks and Cardinals?
Seahawks and Cardinals. Oh, my God. That was hard to watch.
But all these games, too, outside the country, I think, they want to increase visibility. I don't know that people are getting up as many at 9:30 East Coast time to watch
be in church.
Bengals.
Yeah, be watching NFL at 9:30. Should be in church.
This week's games, they don't get a whole lot better, folks. Now, Oakland-Denver's the marquee matchup on Sunday night.
That's a playoff game.
You like your Raiders there, 6-2 against the Broncos, 6-2. I think the Raiders, I'm not putting them in the Super Bowl, folks, but I think they're the top contender to New England now in the AFC. You have 2 of the league's premier pass rushers and linebackers in this game with Khalil Mack for the Raiders and Von Miller for the Broncos. Denver's offense has just not blown me away. Peyton Manning retired. Trevor Simeon's been pretty good when healthy. They can't run the ball that effectively. Oakland's got the more explosive offense with Derek Carr at quarterback, Amari Cooper, and Michael Crabtree at wide receiver. I think the Raiders win this game. Denver's really plagued them in years past, though.
I want Oakland. I'm picking Oakland. It's my team, but Denver's been a nemesis for them. They've won 8 in a row?
8 of the last 9.
8 of the last 9. So, but I think this could be the year. I think Oakland is for real, and maybe they are the contender to New England. Roethlisberger's hurt over with the Steelers, so nobody else is really stepping forward. It's kind of, everybody said it's kind of more of a diluted NFL where they are going to say everybody's on par with each other, but I just think there's some bad teams.
Jack Del Rio, your coach of the year? He's certainly in the conversation, isn't he?
definitely in the conversation. Top of my head, who else is standing out?
Well, Mike Zimmer had it until the Vikings, which leads me to my next game, had their swoon here. Of course, they had the injuries with Adrian Peterson at running back, Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. They bring in Sam Bradford, but they've lost 2 in a row, 5-2, trying to end that skid as they host the 4-4 Lions. And Matthew Stafford, the last 4 games, 9 touchdowns, no picks. It's hard to say he's better without Calvin Johnson, Megatron. It's crazy to think or say, but my goodness, the Lions can really thrust themselves into that wild card conversation if they win this game. And the Vikings, they go from our best team in the sport to, they don't look too good.
And then the other thing, Norv Turner, the very good offensive coordinator, steps down. Disagreement. Head coach Mike Zimmer. How much is that going to play a role in this? You don't know about that. Minnesota started that year looking really, really good, and now it's like they're like the rest of the pack.
The game that's going to me, dictate who's for real, who's not. Let's put up or shut up, if you will. Eagles-Giants. I think this is a big opportunity for the Giants. We talked so much early in the year about the whole Ben McAdoo, Odell Beckham thing, where Beckham was just going nuts, and he's a wondrous talent. But the Giants win this game. They have a wild card spot at the playoffs for today anyway, but they can really put themselves in the conversation for being hard out in the playoffs, and they usually do well when they get that wild card or fly under the radar to the playoffs.
Well, right now, that division, you've got
Dallas is on top.
Like 2 losses.
No, 1 loss. They're on top of the division. Yeah.
So some other teams got to do some catching up because it almost looks like we're giving it to Dallas, fight for second place. I kind of see the Giants winning this game. Big thing it is in New York. But Philadelphia would be, 2 losses in a row if they lose this?
Yeah, they're in a spot where the Redskins still are in the mix, too. They're all battling for the NFC East. Might get 2 wild cards. 1 for sure, I'm thinking, because the NFC West hasn't been as good as we thought. And the NFC South, to me, is a 1-team take to the playoffs with Atlanta. I think they're starting to rule there. And we're seeing that the contenders start to really emerge here with Dallas in the NFC, along with the likes of Atlanta, who's got a lethal offense, and Seattle with that defense. They have postseason pedigree on their side with Cam Chancellor, the local product out of Maury High, and Richard Sherman and that crew, Bobby Wagner, Earl Thomas and company. So that'll wrap it up. The NFL needs some juice now with the baseball finishing up. And what a World Series we saw. Cubs win 7 over the Indians.
What a Game 7. I mean, I watched every inning. I know it was late. Somebody was going to celebrate, so I wanted to watch it. I really wasn't rooting either way. I'm an American League guy because of the Yankees, but I didn't disagree with the Cubs scoring and whatever. And truth be told, if they won it, I'm kind of glad they have.
Yeah, I tell you what, good for them. And they're now potentially, people are going to say, a dynasty. I don't know that we get that World Series repeat matchup. I mean, the Indians are going to have a hard time getting back, though they have a good franchise. And Terry Francona was a tremendous hire for them as the skipper. He did great with Boston. But the Cubs didn't have a ton of injuries. I like their future. And the other thing I like is they now have pieces they can maneuver around to get some other big stars. But it's so hard to get there. Remember, the Giants, they have great pitching. They are always a contender with Bruce Bochy. The Nationals, good team there. The Mets could be back if they get some bats. So the National League is not easy to navigate. We saw that they were down 2-1 to the Dodgers anyway. So I think the Cubs have another championship in their future. It may not be next year, though.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see Cleveland getting back. Cleveland's going to run into that small market syndrome where you reach the World Series, it's hard to sign everybody you need to sign. They get better offers maybe elsewhere, the victim of their own success. It happened to Arizona, it happened to Florida, Toronto. It's happened to those type of teams. So Cubs, they have the money. They've got the players in place. They're not an old team by any stretch of the imagination. They'll pick up a piece or two. I'm hoping they lose Chapman back to my Yankees. That's the one I hope they lose.
For my money, this was the best World Series since 2001 when my Diamondbacks beat his Yankees.
Yeah, it was
most exciting. I don't know about best play. There was some errors, some sloppy play, some guys bunting with 2 strikes, guys getting caught, picked off, but most exciting since 01.
And I think because the Cubs and Indians haven't won it in so long, that it really attracted even your non-baseball interested people.
Yeah, even LeBron, who I can't take wearing you're a Yankee fan, LeBron. Be like him. Don't be. I know you want to support your city, but don't do that. Getting on my nerves. Go play basketball.
He
is a great basketball player. So.
But yeah, you have to root for the city. But I think that's what drew a lot of people into that. It was the casual fan because everybody's heard, well, this team hasn't won in over 100 years. So that would bring in the idea. And of course, Cleveland had done it since 48.
That'll do it for this high school or this Sports Talk Plus. You hear us on High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com every Saturday, 10 a.m. to noon on ESPN Radio 94.1. Next time we'll talk some hoops, college and pro. So check back later.